Hello everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. I hope the keynote sessions were interesting enough. So here in the track 4, now we have Shueb from the pCloudy team. He's a manager pre-sales at pCloudy. He has around 10 years of experience in the IT industry. Prior to his role at pCloudy, he worked with Micro Focus as a pre-sales consultant for application delivery management portfolio, catering to technologies such as DevOps automation, performance, cloud, and mobile. Today he's going to present us pCloudy's product, wherein he'll give us the overview, offering, features, and and manuals about automation testing standpoint and autonomous testing using pCloudy's product. Over to you, Suez.
Very good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all the folks who have joined from different part of the world. So thank you so much, in joining in this conference today. So let me quickly share my screen. All right, I hope you guys can see my screen. All right, let's get started. So just to give a quick overview on what pCloudy is all about. So pCloudy is basically it's a continuous testing cloud platform which provides access to real devices across Android and iOS platform where you can test all your different types of applications, be it native, hybrid, progressive web apps, and mobile web apps. And not just that, pCloudy also supports web application testing. So if you have your web apps that needs to be tested across different platforms, be it on Mac or Windows with different versions of browsers. So pCloudy is a one-stop shop for all your testing needs. And along with the features and capabilities that pCloudy provides for both manual testing and as well as automation testing. All right, and when it comes to automation, we have seamless integration with different open source solutions like APM, Espresso, XUI test, and so on. So we'll look into details. So today's agenda is more focused on the key features of pCloudy platform. I'll just run through them. And also when we talk about offering, so we have three different types of offering. We have enterprise offerings, which is basically on the private cloud and as well as on the on-premise. So private cloud is more of a dedicated instance wherein you let us know, the devices of your choice and we procure them and we host it in our dedicated space. So there won't be any public presence in the private cloud. So in the advantage of having a private cloud instance is you may access the cloud at any given point and also have the devices availability 24/7, and the entire cloud has been managed by us. So that's private cloud. On the on-premise one, so this is more where the cloud setup would be hosted behind your corporate firewall, right? If there are any compliances from your organization and you don't want your to bring your data outside your network, then in such cases we provide offering where we come up with our hardware and the software component, and the cloud can be hosted behind your corporate firewall. And the third offering is SME, basically for small scale industries. So where it's called as a public cloud. As the name suggests, it's a shareable platform where we have more than 350 plus physical devices hosted across data centers in India, US, and also in Singapore. So it's a pay-as-you-go model, right? So when it comes to features, capabilities wise, it pretty much remains the same in the UI, right, across all these three different platforms, right? So let me just take you through the platform. Device.pcloudy.com is the URL where you can quickly sign in with your credentials, and we do also have integration with single sign-ons. So if you're using any Active Directory and if you want to integrate with SSO, you can pretty much do that. Otherwise, you can just create a sign up and then log into the platform. Let me just take you through the platform. Let me just sign in with my credentials. All right, this is the landing page where you quickly arrive, and we have recently revamped our new UI. Right, so the focus here was more around the user experience. We have worked on the various different feedbacks from different customers across the globe, and we made sure the user experience is the first that matters. So it's a one-stop shop, as I said. So there is a devices section where you can get into the devices section, acquire the device, and get started with your functional testing. Also we have a browser instance as well where you can test all your web applications in real time on Windows and Mac machines with different browsers, right? Different versions of it. And there are some other features around the AI bots as we discussed, right? So I'll be focusing around the Certify as well, which is an autonomous mode of testing. And then automation, some of the open source solutions that we support, we pretty much have listed down here. So I'll talk more about them. So let me just get into the devices section and talk you more about the devices place. So this is the devices section, where you can talk, I mean, where you can see all the different devices that are hosted on the cloud. As this is a public cloud, you may see some devices are already been acquired by other users, right? And yeah, you can pretty much scroll down, look for the availability of the device. So these are real devices, so we do not support simulators or emulators. You may acquire any of these device depending on your requirement. You can always filter based on the operating system. So there are support for different operating system as well, starting from Android 5 to Android 13, and also different versions of iOS along with beta versions. Different OEMs, so we have support for all the different leading manufacturers, so one can quickly filter different screen sizes. We support different smartphones, tablets and phablets, so one can make sure, you test your apps against a wide variety of different screen sizes and test the compatibility of your applications. Different network carriers, so we do support different network carriers for India and US, in case if you're looking to test your applications for interruption based testing like SMS and calling functionality. You can pretty much filter it based on the network location. As I said, so we have data centers spread across different locations. In India, we have in a couple of locations, one in Bangalore and one in Mumbai, and one in US and also in Singapore, right? So these are the places where we have our data center space. And acquiring the device is very straightforward, as I said, depending on the availability. Since this being a public cloud, so there is always a dependency on the availability of the device, right? So if you see any device on the availability, you can pretty much acquire it. But otherwise, it's a huge pool of devices. There are possibilities of having multiple instances of some of the flagship flagship devices like Apple, Samsung and other devices, where you can always look for it. So that's about devices section. So before I acquire any of the devices, I would like to also talk about another section called my data, which is basically it's a cloud drive or a cloud location, right? So given to every individual user, where the user can upload all their APKs and IPA file from your local drive. If you have your build in the form of APKs and IPA, you can just simply browse it from your local drive and start uploading your applications. Whatever apps that you have on your local drive, you can just simply upload it. So you can pretty much manage all your APKs and IPFN and other data. And this my data is restricted at the user level, so no other user will be able to access what apps you have within your my app data. But otherwise, if you are distributing your apps through Microsoft App Center or even test flights, we do have a seamless integration with these tools, where you can just integrate and install the application directly into the device. All right. So let me acquire any device here. I can just search along, or I can just type the name of the device which I'm looking for. Say, so for example, if I'm looking for Note 20, I can just simply search for it, look for the availability. Yeah, I can see the device. I can also click on more details to understand what is the hardware and the software configuration that the device has. So let me acquire this device. And acquiring the device is very straightforward. You just have to click on connect, and the device will get acquired. So once the device gets acquired, you can get started with your functional testing, right? So this is the device interaction page on the left hand side, where there are various different features on the left as well as on the right. So I'll take you through some of the important key features. And Also on the right hand side, this is a very customizable panel, right? Depending on your need, you can always keep the features which you are really interested of. Otherwise, you can pretty much close them. So the first tab is the device information and setting, which helps you understand the device details and what is the device configuration that you're connected to. All the information, you can pretty much get that. So you can get started with your functional testing from manual testing standpoint. And if your application is in the Play Store or App Store, you can get it in the Play Store, App Store, download the app, and you can get started. Otherwise, as I said, if it's in the form of APKs or IPA, you can simply go to install button and just search for the application which you have already uploaded to the cloud. I have few sample apps here which I can just install. Or we do also have integration with App Center, as I said. So if you are using Microsoft App Center and if your apps are distributed through App Center, you can simply enter the App Center token and you can get all the different apps that you have already uploaded, and you can just simply install it directly on the device. So for now, in this demonstration, let me just install any sample app. All right, installation is very straightforward again. Yeah, as you can see, the application just got installed. Now I can get started with my functional testing. I can test my application with various different aspects depending on my requirement. right? Depending on the features that I wanted to use, right? So as a functional test engineer, if you'd like to monitor the logs, you can just go to the logs here, enable the logs. So these are the color coded logs which can help you stack trace and also follow your test flow. And in case if the app gets crashed in between, you can get all those crash pointers. And of course these logs are downloadable, you can download them on your local machine. And also, you can, share these logs with your developers in case if there are any specific issues on the device level. So all these logs are pretty much there here. And from performance standpoint, we do provide a feature called analysis. So this is more from understanding how intensive is your app in terms of consuming the CPU, memory, battery of the application. So it's very important, right, to understand if there is any bottlenecks in my application, so that I want to find out with. So it's a very quick handy feature. You can just quickly just select the app which you want to monitor. Since I have installed this sample app, I can quickly click on select. So once I click on select, I'll start getting all the performance vitals here, as you can see. So these are live metrics that you are seeing. So which talks about the memory consumption of your app. So it started at 0 MB, then it went up to 57, and then it got streamlined at around 60 MB, right? And similarly, there is a CPU consumption chart, network usage, and also the battery capacity. So all these performance metrics are provided live while you're testing your app in real time, and these metrics are also captured in the reports for you to analyze in the later stages, in case if you want to analyze if there is any performance bottlenecks from your app on a specific device. You can always do that. So that is in the reports, right? So that's something from analysis section. And on the other side, there are many features. Few are self-explanatory. You can reboot the device at any given point. If there is any such need, you can always do that. Change the language of the application, provided your app is supported. We have various different languages. You can just simply select the language and then apply, so that you need not get into the device settings to change the language, right? So that's quickly you can do it. There are features around geolocation testing for you to test your app if your application is a location aware app, and maybe it feeds the data based on the location, right? For instance, you have a banking app, right, which may show you the nearest branches or the nearest ATM stores. So you have to test it across different locations, right, across the globe. So how are you going to test with? So there is a location feature which you can always use. Just select the location, the Google map will appear. So you can just select the location where you want. You can just scroll down, I mean, look for any particular location that you wanted to, and just select the location, and the corresponding lat and long information will be captured. On clicking on set, this will be given to the device at the API level, right? So now if you try to relaunch the app, or if you try to detect the location, the app will give you the location as if you're in testing in that location, right? Otherwise, in real time, physically there has to be someone testing in that real location, so that you can um, pretty much test any such type of scenarios. There is a Wi-Fi, you can always switch on and switch off in case if you need to test any application in the offline state. Execute ADB command. So this platform again is not just focused for the QA folks, but also for the developers, right? For Android and iOS developers, who can connect the device to their local machine as if it's connected through the USB, through the USB cable. So there are some tunneling features which can help for both Android and as well as iOS. Execute different ADB commands, any ADBs that needs to be executed. There are some supported ADB commands which you can always execute in real time and get the output instantly. Chrome debugger, again, this is for testing any web apps, and you want to inspect the objects and elements of your mobile web application, or understand the network calls that is being made. So there is a Chrome debugger. And similarly for iOS, we have Safari debugger. Web URL, again, if it's a web based applications and you want to test it across various different browsers, right? So by default, every device comes with a default browser. For Android it is in Chrome browser, and for iOS it's Safari. But however, you may want to test it with different versions. So how are you going to do that? So this feature helps you. You can simply and hit the URL, provide the URL, and select the browser. So we have support again for all the different browsers, starting from Chrome, with different versions of Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, Opera, and so on. We are not listing all the browsers here, but you can always request. You can let us know which are all the browsers that of your interest that you want to test, so that we can provide. So once you have select this, and you can just launch it. So the browsers and the application get launched together, and you can check the compatibility of your web app against the specific browser. All right, so that's about web URL. And if there are any specific apps which are internal, when I say internal, it's a local side applications, right? Local server applications which are not accessible outside the public, right? So in such cases, if you still would like to test such applications, then you can actually do it by a feature called Wildlet. So there is a utility called as Desktop Assistant. You can install this assistant on your local machine. So if you click here, so this will take you to a documentation where you can download the utility and configure it. So once you configure it, basically a tunnel gets created, right, from the device, from the cloud device to your local machine. So basically tunnel is created, so all the requests and the responses will be through that tunnel, and the device will be using your local machine network. So whatever applications that you're able to access on your local machine should be able to access it on the pCloudy device. So any internal apps, you can always test it using Wildlet. And for in case if there are any defects and if you'd like to grab a screenshot, you can pretty much do that. Just hit on the screenshot will be captured, which you can further edit, delete, or download. To further edit, you may simply click on edit and then do further highlight if you want to highlight the defect more precisely, right? So for example, maybe this login button is in not in the proper place, right? I can just highlight the defect, provide some meaningful name to it, and just confirm save. So once I confirm save, the edited screenshot would also appear. And not just that, you can also collaborate these findings with different test defect management tools, right, like Jira. So we have really integrated with Jira as of now. You can just log a bug in Jira, so that you can share your findings across different teams based in different locations, and hence thereby enhancing your testing timelines. So that's on the how you collaborate your findings. And some new features that we have added are around biometrics. If your application requires you to do the biometric testing, right, to basically authenticate through the fingerprint. So how are we going to do that? So since these devices are on the cloud, so there is a simulation that we have done. Basically it's called as a touch ID feature, where the application has to be instrumented before installing the app into the device. So there is a small process called instrumentation, which you will do it after uploading the app. And then once it's uploaded, you can use this. So green, when you press on the green button, the authentication will get passed. Basically we are bypassing the authentication and your app gets launched. And at the same time, when you press the red button here, the authentication will get failed. So that's around biometrics. And we're also supporting some features like which involves you to scan the QR code or the barcode. So we do have support where you can upload your QR or the QR code images or the barcode to the cloud, and then inject the image during the runtime when the scanner is triggered. So these are some of the important value-added features that I have taken you through. There are many more features considering on the timelines. So maybe I can just switch now to the automation part. So once the functional testing is done on the device, on a specific device, you may release the device, right? So there is an option here where you can quickly release the device. So once you click on release, you'll be notifying with a pop-up which says your data will be cleaned up. So this is more from security standpoint. So what we do is once you are done with your testing, your app gets uninstalled during the cleanup process, clear cache cookies, and also the device will be power cycled. So next time when you connect to the same device, the device will be in its original state, right? So this is to prevent your app from accessing into any other user, right? Since this being a public cloud, pretty much we do it by default. But however, on a dedicated instance like private or on-premise, there is an option where you can configure in case if you wish to retain the app as it is, you can pretty much do that. So you have two options here. Either you can go back to the devices in case if you are testing, if you still have to do any testing on any other devices, or you can just simply go to the view reports. So for every session, we do provide the reports where you can actually monitor your findings, whatever your test findings. That includes again your logs, the videos. So the entire session is captured in the form of a video, and then all the screenshots and the performance metrics and so on. So you can just go to the report section. In the all reports, you'll start seeing all the different session reports here, where you can quickly look at it. So let me just quickly show the report. So this is the device that I have connected. I can quickly view the report. Yeah, that's how the report looks like. There are session details, configuration of device, and then all the key parameters like battery chart, which talks about battery consumption at device level, app level. Similarly, there is a memory chart which talks about memory consumption of your app at any specific point. You can see the spike So you can note down the memory consumption of your app. CPU chart similarly, which talks about CPU consumption at app level, system level, user level. Try to identify if there are any bottlenecks around network chat snapshots, if what are the snapshots, if you have captured all those, and also the logs and videos. So the entire session has been captured in the form of logs and videos, which you can further download. You can download and actually play down the videos in case if you wish to reproduce the issues. So yeah, so that's how the report looks like, and these reports are shareable. You may share it among your team members, so they need not be pCloud users. So there's a quick copy report link option. You can just simply quickly release it. Okay. So that's pretty much from the automation standpoint. And now, when we talk about automation, as I said, so we have integration various different tools like APM, Espresso, XUI test, and so on. Opkey is our internal solution, which is basically it's a codeless form of automation, so anyone can create their scripts. It has a record and play back feature, so while you record, the entire steps gets recorded, and you can actually play it with pCloudy devices. So there's a tightly coupled integration between pCloudy and Opkey, and of course, this is a licensed version, has to be procured separately. But otherwise, on the other open source solutions, we have integration with APM. So you can just simply integrate with your existing scripts if you have already created. So there is capabilities section as well, where you can quickly configure, whether if you're configuring it for Android or iOS. Automation type, we can select browser testing, app testing. You can enable the logs, performance data, video, and then you can select the device location, on which specific device you're going to run within, on which particular location. Then you have option of selecting the devices. You may select the devices here, either you go with full device full name, or you go with manufacturing version, and then you provide the device duration here, right? The execution duration basically. So if your local time of your script execution is staying around 20 minutes, you can always keep some buffer time and of 10 minutes, and like make it to 30, so that this will ensure that the device will be booked for so and so duration. You can select the application which you have already uploaded to the cloud. So this is one of the prerequisite, which you make sure you upload it to the cloud, and then you provide the app package and app activity. So these are this is something mandatory, which you will be getting it for your specific apps. I'm just providing some dummy data. So once you have capabilities, the capabilities are generated, right, which you can simply copy or edit if there is any change required. And now I can go back to my APM client, where I've created my existing script. So here I'm using Eclipse as an APM client. Here you can pretty much use your own IDs, be it Visual Studio or Android Studio. You can have these capabilities here, right? So it's pretty straightforward. So once you have these capabilities, you are done with integration, also the configuration of the device, and you can simply execute it, right? Now I'll just quickly execute this to show how the execution takes place. So there's a small sample script that's written for one of the flight reservation application, where the user is trying to search for the flight, and I can execute the same script on multiple devices at the same time. So how am I going to do that? So we have we created a parameter called device name, and passing that as an annotation. So if I want to run it on more number of devices, I can just keep on adding. So device name is my parameter, and value I can simply keep on adding. So I'm running this on two different devices. I can just go to run as, trigger the test, and execute. So once I trigger the test, the execution will get started, and all the errors and warnings, you can pretty much get it in the console. So this is more from APM. So on pCloudy side, we do provide the live automation view, right? So in case if you wish to view the live that's running, so you can actually monitor your automation. You can just go to the report section. In the my active session, you'll start seeing all the devices, right? So since two devices are selected, one Samsung and OnePlus, I can just further click on live view. So live view is of course optional. It's required only when while you are doing your debugging application, app debugging per se. But otherwise the scripts will still get executed. You can also interact with the device during in the live view session. So there is an enable interaction. Yeah, as you can see, the execution has pretty much begun on one of the devices, and side by side you can monitor your the APM client side if there are any specific issues and so on. So that's how the live view looks, where you can monitor. And once the execution is completed, we do provide you the reports. You can monitor the reports. So pCloudy has come up with some new features, new enhancements in the reports. We have released something called as a progressive report, which basically gives detailed information of your test statics, right? It's a live. So while the execution is going on, you can still monitor your monitor your reports, which gives you more details about your test. Talks about number of tests that are passed, number of test cases that are failed. So that's the progressive report here. You can just get into the progressive report and then just try to get all the data here, right? So you get to see all these details: number of test cases that are passed, number of test cases that are failed. And at the test case level, you can further get into the test case level, get all the metrics, right, in terms of the test logs, device logs, APM logs, and with a video as well. And or not just that, all the screenshots, in case if you have capturing any screenshots, all those will be captured here. All right. So yeah, so that's pretty much from the automation on the progressive report side. I'm just rushing out. uh, yeah. And Also, I just want to touch base around the automation, I mean, on the testing, right, which is basically through a certifier feature, right? So certifier is basically, it's driven by AI bots, which basically helps you quickly do a sanity test of your application even before releasing it onto the production, right? So it's a very straightforward. You just have to upload your app to the cloud and then select the categories and then run it and just relax. These are the bots will do all the test for you and will give you the report, right? So there's a process. You just have to select the app and then provide session name, and then provide all the location on which data center you're going to execute, and then provide the category of your app. So there is various different application category. So you may select the application category here, provide any credentials. If there are any application credentials, you can always provide. You can change the name, right, of the if there is any changing that you need to do, you can pretty much do that and then execute it. So once you execute, the certifier session will come into picture, the bots will come into picture, the two different bots. One does the crash test, another does the exploratory test. So I'll just quickly show you the report, how the report looks like. I don't have much time to run the certifier here, but however, yeah, that's how the report looks like. A quick screen which talks about the summary details. So basically, what the bot does is here, it executes your test. It executes your application on 10 different random devices, and it provides you some industry standards values, and whether if it's matches with the industry standards, or it's below par, or it's at the average. All that data in terms of performance metrics is given here. And on the other side, as I said, the two different bots. One does the crash test. Basically, it does the monkey testing. It installs the app, just does the random testing, see if the app is getting crashed or not, capture all the logs, every screenshot, whatever action the bot is doing, all that has been captured here. Again, there are all the beautiful metrics here. You can just scroll down and look for it, and along with the logs, and also any scenario based, right? All that you can pretty much monitor. And the other bot does the exploratory test bot. So this is like you're actually training the bot. This is how, like, just like how a human does. You were actually training a bot here, right? You, with the intelligence that we have given to the bot, and uh, also the application category that you have selected, right? So again, it selects 10 different random devices, and then it installs your app on those 10 devices, and then tries to navigate to every part of the screen and tries to capture the right. So just like how a human does. Of course, you cannot replace a human with the bot, but without any human intervention, your application will be get tested here, right? And again, you get all these metrics. You can capture all of them here. So that's pretty much on the exploratory part. So that's about certifier. I wish you would see this in more in detail. We do have some documentations and also in the videos on the YouTube and our channel. So I would urge you to just go around and then learn more about this. So I think I'm very much done with my slot here. So that's pretty much it from my side. If there are any queries, I mean, you can feel free to go ahead with your questions and ask.
Yeah. Hi, Shueb. Thank you so much for a detailed walkthrough of the platform. We do have a few questions, but due to time constraint, we'll be emailing you the questions and maybe you can respond to us and we'll
Sure.
publish it. Thank you so much for the presentation, though.
All right. Thank you so much. If there are any
Yeah.
queries, please feel free to reach out. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll share it over email.